cover. We're going to get right to another major story that's happening here in New York. You know Luigi Mangione. He's got a state case against him as well as a federal case. He's charged with stalking and murdering, shooting to death United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. That happened in December of 2024. Well, he is now being held in a prison here in New York City, and he's been in and out of court for various procedural hearings as we lead up to when his trials are going to begin. Again, he's got a state case and a federal case against him, so he will have two trials. Joining me right now is criminal defense attorney Adam Konta, and he's going to be providing us some insight on this case. He's not involved with the case. We are looking to him, though, for his expertise. Adam, thanks so much for joining me today.
Sure. Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
So now I've covered a lot with this case, as well as my colleague Lisa Evers and also Michelle Ross. So tomorrow is another procedural hearing. This is related to his federal case. So what is the judge going to be talking to the defense team and the prosecutors about tomorrow?
Sure. Well, January's been a busy month for Mangione. He's had a state case on. He's had a conference already on the federal case. And what the federal judge is doing tomorrow is really a status conference to kind of see where the case sits as it starts moving towards trial. As of now, the Manhattan DA's office has sort of planted their flag and said, we're going to try our case in state court first. And everyone seems to be on the same page there, even though one of his attorneys, Karen Friedman-Agnifilo, has said that she might need more time from the proposed July 1st start date. Mm-hmm. But what that means for the federal side and what it's on for tomorrow is essentially they're checking in on a few things. There's still a decision to be made over the admissibility of some of the evidence that was gathered during his arrest and seizure. And more importantly, the prosecutors need to decide whether or not they're going to go forward with the death penalty or not. And so if they go forward with the death penalty, that greatly changes kind of the schedule that we're looking at here.
Right.
If they decide they're not going to seek the death penalty, it means that they're going to start jury selection in federal court in September and then hope to begin the trial in October.
Right.
However, if they do go after the death penalty, that's going to delay the start of the trial all the way until January 2027.
That's right. So a year from now. And who knows, it might not even happen then. But there was a lot of talk in the last couple of weeks, or last few weeks, actually, that instead of the state going first, that it would be the feds going first. So why is there a lot of talk about that being switched now?
Well, I think it's just a matter of logistics, really. This is a case that a lot of people thought belonged in state court to begin with. Certainly, he was charged there right away. It happened in Midtown. And as far as the Manhattan DA is concerned, that this is an issue that is really New York centered. This affects New Yorkers. It affects how New Yorkers feel in their safety and in their belief in the system and their belief in the police. And so it's really important. It's almost emblematic for the NYPD and the district attorney's office to try to get out in front of that. And so they have the first opportunity to really get a conviction and their chance at a conviction on Luigi. And so I think all that's really happening here is you've got two very prestigious offices that are sort of jockeying for the ability to really put their case on first. You know that it's going to get more attention in the press too, which one goes first. Right. And that's not something that's lost on either the Southern District or the Manhattan DA's office. And so they're trying to push things along. And the reality is that the Manhattan DA's office has been able to push the case along a little bit faster than the federal prosecutors can. And so they've already gotten to the point where they've done the pretrial hearing. And so really all that stands in the way now of him going to trial is the judge just ultimately ruling on the decision of what's admissible and what's not.
That's
so it's
right,
just a shorter path.
It's a shorter path. And, let's talk about that evidence, because it's the evidence that was found in his backpack when those police officers in Altoona, Pennsylvania, approached him at that McDonald's. And there were numerous police officers, and they questioned him, and then they searched the backpack. And inside the backpack is the alleged murder weapon, the gun. It's a ghost gun, a silencer for the gun, and his journal. Some people have called it a manifesto. And his defense team has always maintained that they acquired that evidence illegally because they did not have a search warrant. So that's been their argument in both the state case and the federal case. Now, the judge has heard those arguments on the state side. In the federal case, she has also heard those arguments. When do you think the judges in both of those cases will rule whether or not that evidence will be admissible when his trial starts?
I think the answer is sooner rather than later. And the reality is that it's so pivotal onto how both sides go forward. It's going to determine completely how the defense puts on their case and prepares their case, as well as the DA's office or this SDNY office. I mean, if some of this evidence is suppressed, which I really think is possible here, whether it's the manifesto slash journal, whether it's the entire backpack, whether it's the statements, all of that and any of that can make the DA's office their job much more difficult. And so the more lead time the judge can give both sides with that information, it allows for less wiggle room for them when it gets closer to trial. Say, listen, we just learned this. This is new information. We can't possibly go forward now. We're going to need an adjournment to adjust for this. That's the last thing that any of the judges, either of the judges, want in this case. So I think the answer, to answer your question again, is it's going to be sooner than later.
Why do you think, because you just said this, why do you think that that evidence in the backpack might be thrown out, might not be allowed to be presented during either one of the trials?
Well, I think the Altoona Police Department took some liberties when they arrested him. And the reality is that a small town police force isn't necessarily used to the number one most wanted alleged criminal in the country showing up on their doorstep. And when it did, I think they did the best job that they could do. But they didn't do it exactly right. I mean, even if they should have gotten a search warrant. Okay, we can just put that aside. That would have been best practices here. But knowing that they didn't get a search warrant, you got to look at, okay, well, what is the context of them, especially going into the backpack? And they're allowed to search around without a search warrant, but only for limited purposes, including, is anything dangerous in that backpack? Does he have a bomb? Does he have a gun? Does he have anything that could hurt them or others in the immediate foreseeable area? Or is there anything in his reachable grasp that he could do to destroy evidence? So they can prevent evidence from being destroyed, and they can ensure their own safety. But they did way more than that. They went into the backpack. You can kind of look around a backpack and see pretty quickly, okay, there's not a bomb here. Okay, there's nothing that's imminently dangerous. And now we have control of the backpack. Let's take a pause. Let's get a search warrant and let's do this the right way.
Gotcha.
But you can see that they dug around, especially going into the manifesto slash journal you talked about.
Right.
What argument could they have that that was dangerous and that they needed to search it right then and there? So I think the judge is kind of up against the wall on this.
Yeah.
With some bad behavior from the police department.
Okay. All right. Hey, Adam, thanks so much. I really do appreciate your insight here. And thanks for joining us again. You've been a really good friend to Fox 5 with your legal analysis. So, and we really appreciate it. So thanks so much again for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. Hopefully I'll see you soon.